Welcome to study session 4, Uses and Value of Information. Introduction. People use information for numerous purposes, ranging from problem resolution and decision-making to empowerment and politics. As a result, economists believe that information should not be free, and people should pay for information in accordance with its value. So, how can we put value on information? In particular, how would you quantify information in monetary terms? There are different parameters people have suggested. You shall discuss some of these parameters in this study session. Learning outcomes. Explain the uses of information to society. Highlight on characteristics of value of information. Discuss on the monetary value of information. Uses of information to the society. Problem solving, decision making, awareness, entertainment, knowledge acquisition, and other uses of information. The following are the uses of information to government, community, and corporate organization. Problem solving. Problem solving is the ability to identify and solve problems by applying appropriate skills systematically. Problem solving is a process, an ongoing activity in which we take what we know to discover what we don't know. It involves overcoming obstacles by generating hypotheses, testing those predictions, and arriving at satisfactory solutions. Problem solving involves 3 basic functions. Problem solving is, and should be, a very real part of the curriculum. It presupposes that students can take on some of the responsibility for their own learning and can take personal action to solve problems, resolve conflicts, discuss alternatives, and focus on thinking as a vital element of the curriculum. It provides students with opportunities to use their newly acquired knowledge in meaningful, real activities and assist them in working at higher levels of thinking. Here is a 5-stage model that most students can easily memorize and put into action, and which has direct implications to many areas of the curriculum as well as everyday life. Expert technique in solving problems. Here are some techniques that will help students understand the nature of a problem and the conditions that surround it. List all the related relevant facts, making a list of all given information. Restate the problem in their own words. List the condition that surrounds a problem. Describe related known problems. 3. It's elementary. For younger students, illustrations are helpful in organizing data, manipulating information, and outlining the limits of a problem and its possible solutions. Students can use drawings to help them look at a problem from many different perspectives. Understand the problem. It's important that students understand the nature of a problem and its related goals. Encourage students to frame a problem in their own words. Describe any barriers. Students need to be aware of any barriers or constraints that may be preventing them from achieving their goal. In short, what is creating the problem? Encouraging students to verbalize this impediment is always an important step. Problem-solving possibilities. The following are the possible problem-solving methods. Create visual images. Many problem solvers find it useful to create mind pictures of a problem and its potential solutions prior to working on the problem. Mental imaging allows the problem solvers to map out many dimensions of a problem and see it clearly. Guesstimate. Give students opportunities to engage in some trial and error approaches to problem solving. It should be understood, however, that this is not a singular approach to problem solving, but rather an attempt to gather some preliminary data. Create a table. A table is an orderly arrangement of data. When students have opportunities to design and create tables of information, they begin to understand that they can group and organize most data relative to a problem. Use manipulatives. By moving objects around on a desk or table, Students can develop patterns and organize elements of a problem into recognizable and visually satisfying components. Work backward. It's frequently helpful for students to take the data presented at the end of a problem and use a series of computations to arrive at the data presented at the beginning of the problem. Look for pattern. Looking for patterns is an important problem-solving strategy because many problems are similar and fall into predictable patterns. A pattern, by definition, is a regular, systematic repetition and may be numerical, visual, or behavioral. Create a systematic list. Recording information in list form is a process used quite frequently to map out a plan of attack for defining and solving problems. Encourage students to record their ideas in lists to determine regularities, patterns, or similarities between problem elements. Try out a solution. When working through a strategy or combination of strategies, it will be important for students to keep accurate and up-to-date records of their thoughts, proceedings, and procedures. Evaluate the results. It's vitally important that students have multiple opportunities to assess their own problem-solving skills and the solutions they generate from using those skills. Frequently, students are overly dependent upon teachers to evaluate their performance in the classroom. The process of self-assessment is not easy. However, it involves risk-taking, self-assurance, and a certain level of independence, but it can be effectively promoted by asking students questions such as, how do you feel about your progress so far? Are you satisfied with the result you obtained? And why do you believe this is an appropriate response to the problem? Problem solving is the ability to identify and solve problems by applying appropriate skills systematically. Problem solving is a process, an ongoing activity in which we take what we know to discover what we don't know. It involves overcoming obstacles by generating hypotheses, testing those predictions, and arriving at satisfactory solutions. Decision making. Take time to properly define the problem. What is the issue to be covered? What is the problem? What decisions need to be taken? A fishbone diagram will sometimes help in understanding the complex interlinkages that create a particular problem. For each of the causes or its effects, make a list of information or data that will be required and clarify how that information will lead to a better decision. Finding the information. Determine the sources from where information needed for decision making can be obtained. What information needs to be taken? Who has that information? Why is that information being collected by the source? Which component of the problem at hand will it help? Evaluate the sources to see which of them can provide the best information and identify the mode and format in which the information is presented. Keep in mind that different sources provide information in different formats for different reasons. Processing the knowledge. This is where the information gathered is matched with the problem in hand. The relevant information from each source is extracted and information from multiple sources is organized. Which parts of the information collected needs to be used? What additional data or information is needed? How can information be best presented to be able to understand the situation and take decisions? The collected information is evaluated and integrated for its relevance, validity, and interconnectedness. Taking the decision. In an interactive and inclusive process involving all the concerned parties, form an opinion from the information collected for its effectiveness and efficiency. Use it to take the decision. Has the decision taken help in solving the problem at hand? Was the decision satisfactory and took into account all the views of concerned parties? A decision taken may need to be examined closely and refined and modified to meet differing needs over time. Timely, appropriate, and in-depth information is a prerequisite for sound decision-making by both individuals and organizations. The value of information in this regard is tied to its ability to reduce uncertainty. Awareness. Information is vital in getting people informed about goings on around them. The value of information in this regard is appreciated in its ability to bridge the gap between those who know and those who do not know. Information is therefore the strongest single factor of mobilization. Entertainment. This is another vital use of information. Most objects of entertainment convey a message to the viewers. Messages are simply packaged information. Knowledge acquisition. Data after processing translates into information. Also, when information is communicated and is correctly interpreted and understood by the receiver, it translates to knowledge. Knowledge is being acquired through information on a day-to-day basis. Other uses of information. This include the use of information for marketing, research, development, change, dieting, socio-economic function, behavior modification, diplomacy, policy formulation, planning, safety, education, direction, competitive edge, forecasting, inventions, discovery, smooth running of organization, to correct impression, counseling, preservation or storage, empowerment, data analysis, politics, and so on. Characteristics of value of information. The following are the characteristics of the value of information. Value of information is a function of its use. The value of information depends on what the receiver wants to use it for. The pertinent question is, what is the extent of its benefits? Subjectivity. Information is subjective. People don't attach the same value to the same piece of information. Information of very high value to someone may be valueless to another. Value of information varies over time. The value of information varies with time, that is, it is not static. Value placed on it today may be different from what it will have in 2 years' time. Generally, we should bear it in mind that for something to be information, it doesn't have to be new, but it is news if it is new. Still, information can also be provided, but it has a lesser value or even a zero value. Monetary value of information. An important question is, how can we put monetary value on information? There are different parameters people have suggested, and we'll discuss some of them as follows. A. Cost-benefit analysis. Proponents of this parameter are interested in how much it will cost to get the information and what are the benefits derived from it when it is used. The benefits must outweigh the cost for the information to be desirable. B. Willingness to pay. How much a potential user is ready to pay for a piece of information is often regarded as the cost of that information. For the same piece of information, two individuals might be ready to pay different amounts. C. Cost of not having the information. This refers to how much someone will lose for not having a particular piece of information, that is, opportunity cost. For example, consider information needed for the use of a fire extinguisher. You may not have information on how to use a fire extinguisher kept in your office. Then there was a fire outbreak in which a lot of money and office equipment got burnt. In this instance, the cost value of the piece of information on the use of the fire extinguisher, which you did not have access to, is the estimate of the losses incurred. D. Statistical decision theory. Here, the value of information entails the use of probability and expectation in supporting decision making. For example, during the rainy season, the probability that it will rain on a particular day is high compared to the dry season. As a result, a piece of information from a weather forecasting station would expectedly be higher than in the dry season. E. Reduction in uncertainty. This involves the use of Bayesian theory of conditional probability to determine the value of information. F. Non-availability of information as a parameter. This involves the value of information in a negative sense. One needed particular information, but it was not available to him. However, the person discovers that if he had the information, it would have been detrimental in that if he had made use of it, he would have made a wrong decision. The cost is how much he would have lost in monetary terms if he had used it. The non-availability pays off. Summary of Study Session 4. In this study session, you have learnt the following: uses of information to the society, problem solving, decision making, awareness, entertainment, knowledge acquisition, other uses of information. Characteristics of value of information. Value of information is a function of its use. Subjectivity. Value of information varies over time. Monetary value of information. Cost-benefit analysis. Willingness to pay. Cost of not having the information. Statistical decision theory. Reduction in uncertainty. Non-availability of information as a parameter. End of Study Session 4. Thanks for listening.